More than 1.4 million people have now voted in the presidential election as Kamala Harris and Donald Trump travel across the country during the final stretch of a tight campaign. Their vice presidential picks, J.D. Vance and Tim Walz, faced off this week in the only vice presidential debate of the election cycle. Initial polls suggest that voters viewed the debate as a draw, with no significant impact on the race. Harris has reached her highest national polling average since July, although the presidential race still remains extremely close in key battleground states. Harris is leading in 5 of 7 swing states. Overall, both candidates continue to have about equal chances of winning. Currently, Harris has 49.3% of the vote nationally compared to 46% for Trump. Early voting is already underway. More than 1.4 million Americans had voted as of midday on Friday, according to data from the election lab at the University of Florida. The release of Harris's pledges for office have solidified support not just from Democrats, but from independents and even many conservatives who simply can't vote for a dictatorship under Trump. The Democrats' plans to cut taxes for middle-class families, make rent more affordable and home ownership more attainable, to grow small business and invest in entrepreneurs, and to take on bad actors and bring down costs, strengthen and bring down the cost of health care, protect and strengthen Social Security and Medicare, support American innovation and workers, protect a pathway to the middle class through quality, affordable education, invest in affordable childcare and long-term care, lower energy costs and tackle the climate crisis, and standing up against Donald Trump's evil Project 2025 agenda, which will simply jack up prices, weaken the middle class, cut Social Security and Medicare, eliminate the Department of Education and preschool programs like Head Start, and end the Affordable Care Act. Project 2025 would give Trump unprecedented control to implement his destructive agenda, including another handout to his billionaire friends and giant corporations. His plans would increase costs for families by at least $3,900 a year by slapping a Trump sales tax on imported everyday goods that American families rely on, like gas, food, clothing, and medicine. Trump would raise rents and add $1,200 a year to the typical American mortgage. Trump asked big oil executives to give his campaign money so he could roll back regulations and cut taxes for big oil to boost their profits. And Trump's plans would push gas prices up. His economic plans would trigger a recession by mid-2025, cost America over 3 million jobs, threaten hundreds of thousands of clean energy jobs, increase the debt by over $5 trillion, and send inflation skyrocketing and hurt everyone but the richest Americans. And that's not just my opinion. These are the considered thoughts of dozens of economists who claim that Donald Trump's ridiculous plan for tax on imports is only going to cost Americans more. The simplest path to winning the 270 electoral votes needed to secure the presidency is through the battleground states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. While Harris leads Trump in the 10-day average of polls in all 3 states, Pennsylvania by 1.2 points, Michigan by 0.1, and Wisconsin by 2.2, those leads are not large enough to predict a clear outcome, analysts say. The race is similarly close in 4 other battleground states: Nevada, North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona. As of Friday, forecasting indicated the race was essentially a toss-up, with Harris having a 55% chance of winning and Trump having a 45% chance of winning. Trump's strongest polling has been in Arizona, where he leads Harris 48.8% to 48%, due in part to support among Hispanic voters, which I will never fully understand. He literally calls them rapists and drug dealers. When Joe Biden won Arizona in 2020, he carried Latino voters by nearly 25 points. However, 4 high-quality polls released this week showed Harris leading among Hispanic voters by no more than 12 points. Recent polling from the nonpartisan Cook Political Report also found that the race was essentially tied, though it showed some positive signs for Harris. A plurality of voters now believe Harris will win the election, with 46% expressing that belief compared to 39% for Trump. That represents an 11-point swing in Harris's favor since August, and suggests that Harris has been successful in presenting herself as a serious candidate, while Trump's attempts to portray her as unable to do the job have failed. I just want to interrupt myself for a moment to ask you to kindly support me and independent journalism by becoming an exclusive member of this YouTube channel to receive members-only content, early access to videos, monthly live-streamed Q&As with me, and much more. It costs just $3 a month for membership, which goes towards helping me grow the channel and create factual, accurate news commentary for those who need it the most. Right now, the failures of corporate-owned media and the spread of disinformation and far-right propaganda has made finding authentic news coverage in the US difficult, and with your help, we can have a greater reach, whilst democracy hangs by a thread and the threat of fascism is more serious than it's ever been. I'll do my best to put out honest analysis every day, but I really need your help to do that. If you're watching on a computer, simply click Join directly below, or click the Join link in the description to join the 5 Minute News YouTube channel. If you already have a Patreon account, you can subscribe at patreon.com/5minutenews. Thank you. There's also encouraging signs for Kamala Harris regarding the economy. While Donald Trump continues to lead among voters who think he's better equipped to handle the economy, despite his plans for tariffs being blasted by most economists, his own 6 business bankruptcies, and business fraud, voters are evenly split on who would be better at controlling inflation. The shift may indicate that Harris's messaging on the economy is resonating with voters. Donald Trump's lead in his home state of Florida has narrowed, putting the state within reach for Kamala Harris, according to a recent poll. The former president holds just a 2-point advantage over the vice president in Florida, where he resides at Mar-a-Lago, based on a Thursday survey by Neapolitan News Service conducted by RMG Research, which has historically leaned towards Republicans. The poll revealed a significant age divide among voters. Harris has strong support from young Floridians, with 55% backing the Democratic nominee, compared to 43% for Trump. Meanwhile, Trump leads among older voters, with 53% of those aged 65 and older supporting him, while 44% back Kamala Harris. Democratic National Committee Chair Jamie Harrison said he believes Harris has a shot in Florida. I keep saying they're going to be surprised on election night about what happens in that state, that you can't give up on Florida. Harris, as of today, holds a lock on most of the big swing states, looking like a sure winner in Wisconsin, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. Today, Harris will visit North Carolina, which was also devastated by the hurricane, to survey the devastation. Trump visited earlier in the week. There, he asserted the federal response included a lousy treatment to North Carolina in particular. This false claim comes days after the former president posted a Truth Social post, falsely accusing the Biden-Harris administration, as well as the state's Democratic governor Roy Cooper, of going out of their way not to help people in Republican areas, which is, quite frankly, ridiculous. A review of Trump's record and interviews with 2 former Trump White House officials show that the disgraced former president was flagrantly partisan at times in response to disasters, and on at least 3 occasions hesitated to give disaster aid to areas he considered politically hostile or ordered special treatment for pro-Trump states. Mark Harvey, who was Trump's senior director for resilience policy on the National Security Council staff, said this week that Trump initially refused to approve disaster aid for California after deadly wildfires in 2018 because of the state's Democratic leanings. But Harvey said Trump changed his mind after they pulled voting results to show him that heavily damaged Orange County, California, had more Trump supporters than the entire state of Iowa. The exchange drew a dumbfounded response on social media this Thursday from President Joe Biden, who summed up Trump's attitude as, "You can't only help those in need if they voted for you. It's the most basic part of being president, and this guy knows nothing about it," Biden posted on Twitter. Democratic California Governor Gavin Newsom also said it was a glimpse into the future if we elect Trump. Trump's September fundraising haul is up $30 million from August, when his campaign reported raising $130 million. But the former president's operation continues to face a fundraising shortfall compared to Democrats and Kamala Harris's campaign. Last month, the Harris campaign raked in $361 million, almost triple what Trump raised during the same period. The Harris campaign has not yet released its September fundraising numbers. The Trump campaign is also behind pace with their 2020 fundraising. In October 2020, Trump's presidential campaign and the Republican National Committee announced it had raised $247.8 million in the month of September. Hundreds of millions of dollars raised by each campaign is going towards expensive television commercials in battleground states where voters are being bombarded with political advertising. Vice President Harris's fight for our future is also a fight for freedom. In this election, many fundamental freedoms are at stake. The freedom to make your own decisions about your own body without government interference. The freedom to love who you love openly and with pride. And the freedom that unlocks all the others. The freedom to vote. I'm Anthony Davis. You can catch me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel and podcast, on Wednesdays co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sundays on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.